Personal today.
Okay, we'll call our meeting to order and begin with the superintendent's report.
Well, thank you, Skip. Great to see everyone here tonight, and a big hello to everybody out on the live stream watching the meeting tonight. I'd like to start out with some recognitions. October is National Principals Month. Celebrated every October, National Principals Month is an opportunity to celebrate and honor our incredible school principals for their visionary leadership and tireless pursuit of success for each student. We are so thankful for our VCS principals who work tirelessly and courageously to ensure the safety, security, and well-being of all our students and staff. Leadership matters, and it goes without question that we are truly fortunate to have such outstanding leadership from our principals on a daily basis. Principals, if you could please stand and be recognized. We thank you for all you do. So we'll be celebrating our principals throughout the month of October. My second recognition, I'm going to turn this over to Paul Selden, who's the president of the Bike Friendly Kalamazoo. Paul, thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you, Stephen. There's Mark right there.
And I hope this isn't breaking with too much protocol, but I feel that the award that Bike Friendly Kalamazoo is about to present to the Vicksburg Community Schools is as much about all the parents and teachers and leaders within the school system who support the entire school system. So I hope it's okay if I look at both of you at once. And
We agree with you.
Don't turn my back to you. Anyway, my name is Paul Selden. I'm the chair and president of Bike Friendly Kalamazoo. And I'll make this as quick as I can by reading the formal part of the award that I'm about to present, I'll spit it out, to the Vicksburg Community Schools. But then I want to set a little context as to how Vicksburg Community Schools was voted on by our board of directors to receive the award. So now I'll read this and I won't trip over my tongue so much. On behalf of its board of directors, Bike Friendly Kalamazoo presents this 2022 Civic Leadership Award to Vicksburg Community Schools in recognition of its noteworthy, multifaceted work to help make our greater community even more bicycle friendly. And the board voted on this on June 29th, 2022 at our June board meeting. So now a little bit of the context. This award, we've presented it to numerous organizations and municipalities over the years. The award candidates are nominated through a very public process where we poll the entire community and ask, who do you think might be worthy of a Civic Leadership Award this year? And Vicksburg Community Schools received a nomination as a result of that process. Again, we poll the entire community. A number of candidates were nominated. But the next step is that our board of directors has to vote on the nominees. And I'm happy to say that the Vicksburg Community Schools won this award unanimously by a board of directors. Now, one more bit of context as to why we thought the Vicksburg Community Schools had noteworthy, multifaceted work to help make our greater community bicycle friendly. And your superintendent, Keevan, knows this very well because Bike Friendly Kalamazoo and the Vicksburg Community Schools have been working together for a number of years. But this year, it blew me away when I first learned that at Indian Lake Elementary, that school, of all the schools in Michigan, was one of only two to be the very first to present the All Kids Bike Kindergarten PE program. I see someone is nodding in the audience. You're familiar with it? That's a program where every child in the school learns how to start out by pushing a bike, a push-to-pedal bike. They graduate to pedals. It's a nationwide curriculum approved by many applications and certified. The teacher in the Sunset Lake Elementary School to present that program was Sawyer Duncan. Maybe some of you recognize his name. He's gone on to a middle school now. But when I saw the kids on those bikes, it was instant appreciation for the work that the community schools and Indian Lake and the superintendent, principal have done to make it possible. So I don't think I'm going on over much about this. Vicksburg has been a leader in so many ways, and your community schools are a part of that. And it has now received our recognition for our way of looking at the world, which is how an organization makes the community even more bike friendly. So without further ado or stories, I'll present this to your superintendent and chair. My pleasure, Keevan. Skip,
Our pleasure.
you earned this.
Thanks again, Paul. Really appreciate that honor.
I think the school's foundation bought those bikes too, did we not?
Oh, continuing on with my report real quick. The legislative update in your packet. I have included the most recent School Equity Caucus newsletter. It does highlight some bills that are currently moving through the legislature, but as I reported on in September, it is very, very quiet in Lansing during this election cycle. So stay tuned. One of the things that Vicksburg's working on here within the schools, we have applied for some relatively new grants, and one of the grants that we applied for is going to help support building security assessments to ensure all our buildings are safe and secure. Plenty more to come on this in the near future as the grant process unfolds, but we're excited to have SEC coming in to complete those assessments with our leadership and building staffs. Last but not least, I turn your attention to our important dates document. October is filled with lots and lots of great things going on within the schools. Starting tomorrow with MSBO Band Festival. That'll be held from 3 to 9 in the stadium. Come on out, listen to some great bands. Also, on Saturday, we will be hosting the Vicksburg Bulldog Band Invitational. So a couple opportunities to see some great bands and celebrate music here in Vicksburg. We also have the Walking the Dogs fundraiser that's going to take place this week for the middle school. And the highlight of this week is the half day on Friday when our staff will be working on our professional learning communities in the afternoon. And then a couple opportunities to come on out for the Addams Family, the 4th through 8th grade play. That's going to start October 21st, 22nd, and then the 23rd. And then we also have some other concerts and band opportunities to round out the month of October. So hopefully you can join us at some of these fantastic student activities. And with that, that's my report.
Thanks, Stephen. Okay, we'll go on to reports and public inquiry, our budget and finance report. Steve?
Okay, good evening. Couple things to cover this evening. I'll go through it pretty quickly. I'll start with the normal monthly budget progress report for the general fund, and this would include activity through September 30th, or the first 3 months of our new fiscal year. All right, taking a look at revenue first. Revenue on a year-to-date basis is just over 1.125 million, and with the majority of that being represented by local property tax collections, and we'll see that number continue to rise. Also, we will see 10 days from today our first state aid installment for the 22-23 fiscal year. Just a small amount of federal revenue in there, and nothing yet through KRESA. So total revenue year-to-date, $1,125,330. On the expenditure side, instructional expenditures totaled $1,772,620. Their total support services were $1,838,991, and then Athletics at $104,024, community services at $105,107. 3 months are down, but, you know, schools, you know, we really have just over 1 month of actual school in session. So it's still pretty early in the budget year. At this point, everything seems to be tracking like we'd expect. If you make a quick comparison between fiscal years, I think the biggest difference as of right now would be last year's figures included the purchase of 6 school buses at a total cost of about $530,000. So you see that reflected in the lower expenditures for transportation year to date and in the lower expenditures overall. All right, second page of that report breaks down expenditures by object code. And you can see that salaries and benefits, year-to-date, $2,680,054. There's a breakdown there for purchase services, supplies, capital outlay, and other. And again, you can see a significant reduction in capital outlay on a year-to-date basis. Last year at this time, we were at $547,000. Current year, we're at not quite $64,000. All right. Any questions on that? All right, if not, second item will be just a quick, I want to make a few comments about the schedule of investments that's included in the board packet. We recently completed just kind of a recalibration of the portfolio to line up a little bit better with our expected draw schedule. And so in order to do that, we liquidated some of the treasuries and replaced them with some treasuries with earlier maturity dates. And we also, just because the market is looking so good right now, we added some commercial paper to the portfolio, which is allowed by state law as well as board policy. Commercial paper just has to be rated A1 or P1, depending on the rating service. And it has to have a maturity date of no more than 270 days. So our commercial paper investments fit with all of those. And you can see that their rates are pretty competitive. We have one investment in commercial paper that expires at the end of the month, and that's at 3.21%. But you can see that we've got 3 other investments that go out a little bit further into 2023, and those range from 4.42% to 4.49%. So, you know, good news from the school's perspective that interest rates continue to rise and, you know, provides the opportunity for us to earn a higher rate of return, which for many, many years has been almost nil. So, you know, that's good news from our standpoint. Any questions on that? All right, third item is we recently received bids for the middle school project, and we have a recommendation before the board this evening to award contracts. There's a memo from the construction manager included in the board packet. There's just one of the bids that, as explained in the memo, we want to make sure that all the information that the bidders were basing their bids on was consistent and clear. And so there was a clarification that was sent out to the bidders on that. We didn't open those bids, and those bids will be open tomorrow. Okay, but everything else related to the middle school project is ready to go, and the total value of those contracts is just over $5.5 million. And again, this would be, you know, everything that we need to do to do the mechanical upgrades, to put air conditioning in, replace boilers, a lot of hydronic piping throughout the building. There are electrical upgrades, LED lighting, new ceiling tiles, a limited amount of flooring. Most of the flooring will come at a later date. And then anytime we do that kind of work, as we saw so far in all of the elementaries, there's going to be some masonry work that's required, some interior renovations, and that type of thing. So everything's in there. One bid still to be opened, but everything came in essentially where construction managers and architects anticipated it would, so that was good news. And so, yeah, we're excited to get this work up and going, and that would start next summer. At this point,
This thing just kicked on, there's no possible way for us to use
oh, I'm sorry. So I'm not sure, John, what you heard and what you didn't, but,
it. As soon as that thing kicked on, we heard nothing.
okay. I didn't notice when it turned on, but I'll just quickly recap. We've got recommendations to approve bids for middle school mechanical upgrades and renovations. The total amount that we're suggesting or recommending that the board approve tonight is about 5.5 million. All of that, all of those projects will be paid for using proceeds of the 2022 bond issue. All right? Any questions?
Any scope change because of?
No. One of the things that we are, that's kind of we're being a little bit more flexible in would be the replacement of furniture, because furniture prices are increasing along with everything else. The cost of all of our projects has increased. So at this point, we still do anticipate that there will be money available for some amount of furniture, but we want to get through all the major mechanical upgrades before we commit to making those purchases. So the main thing at this point would be kind of holding steady on the furniture replacements. All right. Nancy, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I think that's covered. I'm looking forward to getting started on this one.
Yep, and we anticipate, it's kind of weird hearing my voice like that, but, we anticipate that that work is going to be completed over 2 summers, correct?
Correct, yes.
Um,
Phase 1 is 100, 200 hall, and then phase 2 is summer 2020 and 2024.
Yeah, and so, and that's, we would love to get that work done in the course of 1 summer, but the construction season is it's short, and it's getting shorter all the time, it seems like. That, and we want to make sure that the contractors that we work with are able to provide the staffing necessary to get the job done. So, we would love to get it done in 1 year, but we just don't think that's feasible, and we think that we would regret that decision if we tried to get that all done in the course of 1 summer. All right? Any other questions?
Any talk about paving the parking lot, getting some of that work done?
Dan here,
Yeah,
Paving the parking lot.
yeah, the question was paving the middle school parking lot. Can you hear that now, John?
I can hear, just yell,
Okay.
Mike.
No. It just, the mics that you see are for streaming purposes. All right? Nancy, I don't believe that's included in the bond budget. We know there is some, there's some repairs that we need to do, and we're gonna look at that, but a wholesale,
Okay.
that's when we've done parking lots around the district, particularly around town, we have invested more upfront as we've done those in the last 5 or 10 years, just because the soil conditions are so poor around here that it takes a significant amount of additional excavation. And so once we do that, we should be good into the future, but it's a big ticket item to do that.
Sure, sure.
So, but we recognize it certainly needs to be done.
One of the things that we committed to do is yearly look at that parking lot, see where we need to patch, and try to keep us through until we're ready to dive into that entire park.
Yep.
Okay, if there are no other questions, then that will conclude my report.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, community education annual report, Alyssa?
Too bad.
If you put it on your neck, put it on your neck, yeah.
I suppose. Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Alyssa, the Director of Community Education. And when we tell our story tonight, you'll notice that there are 3 categories. We have our preschool, kids club, and then our extracurricular activities. So we'll get started with preschool.
Alyssa, we're gonna move over so we can see.
Okay.
Believe it or not, we want to see what you put down.
Yeah, thanks. we still offer our Great Start Readiness program. And this is a preschool program funded through the state of Michigan. It's on a grant, and there is no cost to families for enrolling their child. The eligibility is they have to be 4 by September 1st, and they must be a resident of the Kalamazoo County, as well as meet the income eligibility. And our goal is to provide every preschooler with the best educational opportunities through our child-centered, hands-on curriculum designed to prepare them for kindergarten. We believe that every child will learn to the best of their ability when they are safe and in a safe environment and have a strong family-teacher partnership and relationship. And all of our activities are focused on each child's current skills and interests. Of course, none of this would be possible if it weren't for our teachers. My staff at Sunset Lake, I have Michaela and Jennifer, Tobias, Carrie and Claire, and Erica and Laura are at Indian Lake. Now we'll switch gears to Kids Club. And I know I've talked about them in the past, but we're just so excited and proud of the momentum we have going with the program and how much fun the kids enjoy. It's a nonprofit, fee-based program focusing on recreational and enrichment activities. We are licensed through the state of Michigan. And in an effort to meet the needs of all of our working parents, we provide before and after school care for BK through 5th grades. We did a little bit of math, and during the school year, we provide 926 hours of care outside the school day. And this summer, we had 9 weeks of care for a total of 517 and a half hours of care. That grand total is 1443 and a half hours in 2021 and 2022. And of course, none of this would be possible if it weren't for our great staff. At Sunset Lake, I have Harley, Kari, Logan, and Michaela. Indian Lake is Maddie and Courtney, and Toby is Heather, Kendall, and Kristen. And now for our fun stuff. Our community camps, classes, and events are going strong. We looked at last year as a rebuilding year to rebuild everything up, and the summer of 2022 had the most summer camps ever and the most variety that I've ever seen. We had cheer, boys and girls basketball, tennis, football, volleyball, soccer, theater, and robotics, and our first ever rental partnership with the Vicksburg Cultural Arts at the OAC this summer. And it's pretty neat how it works, because the proceeds go back to the programs, and they can be great fundraisers, as well as some high school athletes helped with each camp, creating that relationship with the younger students and giving them volunteer hours. This allows all of our students the opportunity to try out different sports and activities with very little commitment. And as most of you hopefully were there, our 2022 community tailgate had more than 2,000 guests and more than 40 booths this fall. Thanks to everybody who made it a success. And one of our, I guess quite a few of our biggest programs are our dance program and our karate class and our tennis camp. And you'll see that we had 107 dancers totaling 340 registrations over 4 sessions in our dance and tumbling program. 45 participants in our individual and family karate classes, and 132 participants in our 2022 summer tennis camp. And with that, even though Beth and Jessica have plenty of dancing and karate moves, I brought in the big dogs tonight. And so I'd like to introduce to you Tim Fuller with karate.
Hi. Thanks, Alyssa, for the invite to come and
give a brief presentation. Presentation. I'm going to talk for like 2 minutes. I promise it won't get any longer than that. We teach Sanchenru, which is a Okinawan-based form of karate. I brought with me 2 of my students tonight, Scott and Caitlin Cowan. They've been studying with me for, we were trying to figure that out, what we thought about 5-6 years, something like that. Yeah. So I've been studying Sanchenru now for about 15 years. I've been teaching for about 11 to 12. And I took the Vicksburg class, I think, about 10 years ago. Sanchenru is a style of martial arts that tries to set up a energetic and safe and fun way of learning about self-defense. It's non-competitive, so regardless of age or strength or athleticism, you learn how to study this particular form of martial arts without any kind of restriction on that. We have classes that are geared towards kids from 5 to 14. We have classes geared towards families, which Scott and Caitlin are students in. We have programs for teens. We have programs for adults. So yeah. You guys want to say anything? We didn't bring any boards to break or anything. But I'm sure we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. Oh.
Next, we have, thank you. Scott Wills with our tennis program.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. I get a lot of credit for the summer tennis program, and I really want to introduce you to some people who really deserve the credit for the summer tennis program. So first of all, thanks to the board who lets me do this. This was our 30th summer, my 30th summer doing summer tennis, so I appreciate you letting me run this when I was 12 years old.
I was going to say you were just a kid.
That. No, but seriously, I stepped down from coaching varsity tennis when my kids were born, and they continue to let me do the program. I even left Vicksburg Community Schools to take another position, and they continue to let me do the program, so I appreciate that. Community ed, everybody I've ever worked with there has been great. Alyssa, Beth, they do the hard part. They do the paperwork. They do the shirts. I just get to show up and feed tennis balls and teach kids tennis, which is an absolute blast. And the real, to me, heroes of the program are the ones who show up day after day to help me when I know they have way better things to do. And over 30 years, there's no way I can thank all of them and name all of them. So I have a couple that are here today that I'd like to stand up and be recognized. First of all, Addie Reno is a senior at Western who's a Vicksburg graduate and has been through the program. Her brother Drew also helps out. He's a sophomore at the U of M and couldn't make it this evening, but they have both been tremendous help. Corinne Wilson, please stand. Corinne is a sophomore at the high school and has been through the program and comes and helps out and runs drills, feeds tennis balls. Part of the cool thing for me with Corinne and her brother Luke, who's a junior at the high school right now, and her sister Claire, who's a freshman at KVCC, just graduated in the spring, all helped out this summer. But what's cool to me about them is both of their parents were Vicksburg tennis players and went through our program, and they've even helped out a couple times. In fact, I get parents that Brandy Gregor is a current parent, has a student in the beginner class at 9 o'clock, student in the intermediate class at 10 o'clock that just throws a racket in the car, and if I need her, she'll show up and feed some tennis balls. So it's a great way to spend a summer, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Scott, I just want to say that I've stopped and watched you guys several times in the summer, and you guys do an awesome job, and everybody's involved. And I also want to make note that you didn't go too far from Vicksburg schools. We stole him at K. Riesel.
And last but not least, Dawn Simpson. She's our Hawaiian and tap dance teacher.
Okay, I'm sure that many of you may recognize me as one of the math teachers at the middle school. I've been there for a little while now, but I've actually have been involved with the dance program much longer. I came in around 99, 2000, well, no, 90, 91, 1991. So, yeah, that's been more than 30 years for those of you that are doing the math, so thank you for letting me be a part of this since I was 10 years old. But anyways, in the program, one of the things that I'm most proud of is that we really do give a studio quality experience for our students through the community ed program. So they get to do the recital, they get performing opportunities, and what's unique about our program as well, I've taught all the disciplines, tap, jazz, ballet, gymnastics, but Hawaiian, or as I like to what I prefer to say is Polynesian, because it's not just Hawaiian, but the Polynesian dance program that we have is not something that you can find everywhere. In fact, I'm only aware of 3 studios in Michigan that has taught Hawaiian or Polynesian dance classes. So in Southwest Michigan, you're not going to find Polynesian dance anywhere else. So if they want to take it, they should be coming to the Vicksburg dance program, right? And I have got a little demo set up for you today. You're going to see 3 of our dancers. You're going to see a traditional hula. The song is Waiola. The Hawaiian folks refer to salt water as kai, and the fresh water as wai. So this is water of life. And one of the things that I love about the Hawaiian culture is that they're very respectful to each other, to their family, and of course to the resources that the earth gives us. So this song represents that, and performing that will be Ava Sakinga. And following up after her, you're going to see a Maori piece, which is actually the New Zealand people. So if you're familiar with like The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and the Hakas, so Maori, or the poi balls, actually come from New Zealand. And then finally, you're going to see a little piece from Tahiti, or Tahitian. Doing the poi ball piece is our Victoria. And then we've got Miss Lily Puckett over there doing the Tahitian to wrap it up. I think I'm going to go ahead and get started if you guys are ready to be entertained. We're going to be facing this way, so if you want to come around, girls, you have leis. I think we should go ahead and get them in the Aloha spirit. Okay, so let's go ahead and share some leis with a few of our folks here. I was going to say we've got some board members up here. Go ahead and pass out some. We got some over there.
Can you guys get
wanna
around
the
me, or-
folks over there.
Pretty huge.
While they're
thank you.
passing out the leis, I was just going to show a couple of our Hawaiian
Thank you, my time.
Yeah, right.
Hawaiian dance has a lot of percussiveness. Ipu boards. Oh, I was gonna say, anyone else who would like a lei? Ipu sticks. Are we ready? Shall we get started? Okay, I think we're gonna go ahead and get started.
From the top of the mountains down to the sea, Waiola, water of life. Water of life, from the sea rising high, clouds of joy in the sky, water of life. From the top of the Apupua, down to the sea below, let the water flow, let the kalo grow, let the people
Okay, and up next, we're gonna go ahead and have Miss Victoria Hillard come to the center here. Are we good?
Haere rae hine ki raro tonga ki reira no ai. Kaua rae hine ware ware o auto taku mai. Haere rae hine ki raro tonga ki reira no ai. Koara e ne ware ware ko auto tauku mai. Oki oki tonu mai te wairua o te tau ki te awhire inga ki tēnei kirie, ki tēnei kirie. Haere rā e hine ki raro tonga ki reira no ai. Kaua e hine ware ware ko auto tauku mai. E ware ware ko auto tauku mai.
And Miss Lily Puckett giving us a little taste of Tahiti.
Ke mai tō lima, ke mai tō lima, koe tangata e lango ai au. Hey, une lima tuko ulu. Toi hai mai lava ke manino.
Okay, you thought that was gonna be the end. But now I need all of my participants, all the audience members, I would really like you to join us in one final dance. Anyone who's ever been to Hawaii might be familiar with the hukilau. That's usually one that's taught to any visitors at any of the luau's. I'm gonna have my girls come out, they'll face this way so that you guys can follow them, and I'll mirror you. But yes, we need to stand up, go ahead, come on, get involved. You got one. Okay, just so you know, we're gonna be on vacation for the next couple minutes, okay? Sound good? All right.
Yeah, should we stop?
Oh, we need to have the streaming.
Oh, we're going to the hooky loud. Hooky, 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 hooky loud. Everybody loves the hooky loud. Where the loud loves the cow at the big loud. Oh, we'll throw our nets out into the sea, and all the come swimming to me. Oh, we're going to the hooky loud. Hooky, 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 hooky loud. What a wonderful day for fishing the old Hawaiian way. All the hooky loud nets are swishing down in old Laie Bay. Oh, we're going to the hooky loud. Hooky, 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 hooky loud. Everybody loves the hooky loud. Where the loud is the cow at the big luau. Oh, we'll throw our nets out into the sea, and all the come swimming to me. Oh, we're going to the hooky loud. Hooky, 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 hooky loud. Oh, we're going to the hooky loud. Hooky, 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 hooky loud. Everybody loves the hooky loud. Where the loves the cow at the big luau. Oh, we'll throw our nets out into the sea, and all the come swimming to me. Oh, we're going to the hooky loud. Hooky, 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 hooky loud. Hooky, 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 hooky loud. Hooky, 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 hooky loud.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
And the Aloha Spirit, mahalo nui loa. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If you ever see a sign or advertise the dance program, the recitals that they do, they are very entertaining and fun to go to. You'll get a really good appreciation for what our dance class does, right from the little tykes who are really fun to see to some great Polynesian dancing. And so I'd encourage you, you don't necessarily have to have a grandchild or a student that are there. It's very entertaining and it's fun.
Don't get too comfortable, but I'm just gonna do one switch and then I'll be right back. So sorry, I did not realize we were having all the action that we have tonight, so.
No. Amy, just show.
I think where you are at, just maybe skip and.
Oh, I guess we still need to watch the screen.
Well, I don't think mine's going to be nearly as exciting as what we just sat through. So, hopefully I can keep you awake for this next section. But real proud to be here. Thank you so much for coming to Sunset Lake. It's nice to be in our library again without all the distancing. We're a little cozy in here, but I appreciate you all coming here tonight. Sunset Lake, we are lifelong learners and lifelong leaders. That is what we say as adults and kids and staff, and that is what we'd like to share with you tonight. So I want to start off with some big thank yous. My PTSO board back there, it's a new board this year, so thank you so much. You guys can stand, please, and I call you Sam Leach, my president. Next to her is Chelsea Hambright is our secretary. We have Jen Goldbach as our vice president, and Adrian Horton is floating around here somewhere as our treasurer. And then O'Reilly has been a big helper here tonight. So they have just really doing so much and trying to make sure that we get a lot of our things up and running. It's great to have our family volunteers this year. And this Friday, trunk or treat right on our track. So if you're going by this at sunset, you're going to see the trunk or treat. Second annual. We switched from a fall fest into a trunk or treat. So lots of fun around our track. Thank you so much. Okay, we always start with our vision and mission for Vicksburg, and this is just a reminder. I'm sure many of us in the room have heard this 100 times, but our vision here is all students. We talk a lot about all. Superintendent O'Neill talks a lot about all. All students will graduate college and career ready, and then we're going to maximize the success and potential of each student. We're going to talk about each student individually, and we're going to talk quite a bit about that tonight when I get to some of our specifics for our year. So, for our year, I have to say, this is my 16th year as a principal, and last year, by far, was the most challenging year as an educator I could have ever imagined. It was a backbreaker, just going to be honest. So, this summer, a lot of reflection, a lot of thinking about how to come back. And ironically, I didn't realize it, but Superintendent O'Neill also was kind of using the same word that I kind of came to, was renewal. This is a year of renewal. This is a year of great hope. This is a year of, I'm not going to say we go back to what it was, because we're all different. And so we are just renewing ourselves with a new vision of coming back. Our staff last year at Sunset, we ended our year with a lot of reflection time. And we talked about our focus and our theme for the year. And we started with the word empathy. We started with talking about how to help all of us be a little bit more empathetic to our neighbors and to other people. But we really dug a little deeper and we went to the word compassion. Our theme for Sunset Lake this year is compassion. And it goes a little bit deeper than empathy, because you want to be able to help those that are hurting a little bit. And so the pictures that you have up here, that you see up here, are really just pictures that you're going to see out at Sunset Lake. These are pictures that are around the one over to the right, over there with the little shoes, if you can tell, they're shoes. The fifth grade, take a walk in someone else's shoes. It was a little project that the fifth graders did. And just trying to empathize with other people and where they come from and being okay with our differences. This is the middle one there. It's just an example of just a morning start. It's outside of a first grade classroom. Good morning, eyes up, hearts up, mind sharp, compassion on full blast. Okay, let's go. And so we're just really zoning in on those feelings as we start our school days. And compassion, this is just a board that you'd see actually right down the hall. And the last word, joy, we need to find some joy sometimes. And we got to make sure that's what makes our day bright. We have a lot of learning, and we're going to get into that detail today. But renewal, compassion, and joy is really a focus for all of us here at Sunset Lake this year. So this, for the school board members that have been with me for the years, this is one that I share every year, because it is our operating system as a Leader in Me school. It's not really a program. I kind of make sure that I always say that when I can. Leader in Me is not a program. It's more of a structure. It's more of a operating system. We have three big components. We have the core academics, we have our culture, and then we have our 21st century skills. And so we're talking about those three things intermingling all the time. And we're talking about leadership. Now, when you think of these three things, you're also going to be able to see the similarities to this. This is also something that should be very familiar to you. This is our Vicksburg Community Schools key principles of our professional learning community. This year as a district, we have one major goal, and it is operating as a professional learning community. And with that, there are some specific things that we want to zone in on. Sunset Lake, if you can tell, they're kind of outlined in yellow here. Under the focus on learning, ensuring all students, we are going to, as a major focus, school-wide, multi-tiered system of instruction and supports. I'll go into that a little bit tonight. In the middle are high-performing collaborative teams. I'll talk about that tonight. And then the data mindset, efficacy, and transparency. So those three, it's kind of tic-tac-toe, and it wasn't really planned that way, but those three across the tic-tac-toe are really the areas that we're going to zone in on this year as we do our renewal, compassion, and joy. So those are the three things that we're going to get into. Many of you probably have seen a tier or a pyramid, and this I just thought I'd just reiterate and explain it a little bit. The tier 1 is at the bottom. This actually is a little different because typically you see the red on the top, but I liked that it was a 3D model. So on the bottom, tier 1, core, everybody receives that. And we've been doing multi-tier systems of support for academics and education for a very long time. What we're doing better and more in addition is we're doing this model of everyone gets this, targeted group gets this, an intensive group gets this amount of support, but not only in academics, but in our social emotional learning needs. So those are the two areas that I'm going to talk about right now. So core, everybody. Some need a little more than that, and then some need both, all the way to the top. So academics, this isn't new, I don't think, but we've been really talking about our core instruction, time blocks, and schedules. The last 2 years have been really difficult with those schedules, and so this year we're renewing a little bit to that. Staff sharing their schedules with me when they're going to be doing their core instruction. And then when you think about that middle block of that pyramid, that's tier 2. Our teachers have gotten super talented in making sure that they are differentiating, but we also have a specific set time called WIN, which is what I need, and that is where times students we have extra supports. We have an intervention team that is so great. I so appreciate the Vicksburg supports in that. Not every district has the amount of supports that we do. And we have four highly effective teachers, 2 for math, 2 for reading, and then we have our parapro supports to help that during win time. And so our students aren't missing out on their core. And the last 2 are some biggies for this year. Responsive instruction to formative assessment. You're going to hear, that sounds like a education-y, so let me break it down a little bit. Formative assessment is when we're checking on kids all the time. Checking for understanding might be another way that you hear it. It can be as simple as a fist of 5, you got it, it could be as simple as an exit ticket going out. It could be as simple as a quick check with a thumb or something to that effect. But really zoning in, do the formative assessment, but what's our response? We're going to talk a lot about that this year. What is our response to the formative assessment? And goal making, it's always been a biggie for a Leader in Me school. We are big about having the kids making goals, our staff is making goals, our building is making goals, and tracking them. That's a bigger difference, like we have to track them. And so this Friday, you heard about the half day. A lot of what I'm talking about tonight is really going to be even kicked off in different levels for this Friday. So that's the academics of supports. And just some visuals real quick. Some I can statements over here, just like with every category for our content. Teachers are posting like I can in a student language so the students know what that means. It's not too much education-y. The kids know what we're saying. This is just an example of a WIG is a wildly important goal. And so they're going to set some goals. And then over here, our focus continues on literacy. We've been working on that for several years. And having independent reading time and inviting libraries. Talking a little faster, aren't I? Sorry. Okay, so now we're going to go into that multi-tiered system of social emotional. So our district follows let me go back. Our district follows, there are competencies. CASTLE is an organization vetted across the nation of 5 core competencies on how we can really support the social emotional learning of students. Leader in Me has been vetted and is endorsed as a CASTLE program. I said program, as a CASTLE philosophy, I guess. So Leader in Me, we've been doing that for many years. And in the last couple years, CASTLE, this organization, has endorsed Leader in Me and the 7 habits that we teach. So it lines right up with the work that the district is doing, which is fantastic. And you're going to hear from our wonderful counselor tonight. Sense of belonging and some counselor lessons. Miss Brooks is here tonight, and she's going to share as well in just a few minutes about the work she's doing under social emotional. Zones of regulation, when we think about regulating and helping kids understand that, we call it the pause button often, but the zones of regulation is something that our classroom teachers are learning, and then we have our social worker, we have our counselors, we have our behavior specialist, Angie Spanik, going in and doing those lessons, and it's carrying through. And then again, you're going to see, keep doing that, sorry. You're going to see that student voice, student teams, and goal making. Because not only are we talking about academic goals, we're talking about personal goals. We're talking about, sometimes it's a behavior goal, sometimes it's a matter of never giving up, you know, making sure that we have that resilience that we want to see with our kids. And here are some pictures for the social emotional. I have to tell you a little bit about this one. Amanda Lewis, our student support coordinator, new role, talk about that as well in a minute. She took this and she shared it, and if you can see some of the faces of joy right here. This is an example. She said, oh, this was an example of kind of a win-win synergy going on out on Sunset. They had a ball that went over the fence. The day before, Amanda Lewis went over and got it. She's like, we're not doing that again. I'm not doing it. So she wasn't going to get the ball. Well, this group of kiddos decided that they would be able to take their fingers through the fence, and they worked all the way up to get the ball on this side. So we're just talking about problem solving. We're talking about trying to make sure we work together. And they were just so thrilled. The faces, if you could see it closer, like they were thrilled because they made it. They got the ball without going over the fence. So, the zones of regulation I talked about. The first 8 days. This year, again, thank you to the district. We paused a little bit, moved our assessment back a bit. Usually when we start the school year, we get with assessments. We want to know where students are. We moved it back a little bit, which allowed us, if you recall, our first 2 weeks of school had 4 days each. Well, Leader in Me has a nice set of curriculum for every grade level the first 8 days. And it talks about expectations, it talks about what we are doing in the classroom, we talk about our classroom mission statements. And so we really dug into our first 8 days. Started a little slower with the academics because we really had to build our community in our classrooms and get them sound with a community feeling. We were doing academics, I don't want to say we weren't, but we just really zoned in on our community of our classrooms during those first 8 days. And over here, circle of control. If you're a person here at Sunset Lake, you'll know that staying in your circle of control is a big thing that we talk about. And then instead of rules, our classrooms zone in on class mission statements. And they all agree to it. Many of them have the kids sign it. And finally, building healthy communities. It is a grant through the state of Michigan, Chelsea Brink. We're going to be, we did receive the grant from Building Healthy Communities, and we're going to be focusing in on how best we have a committee. We're still early on how we're best going to do that, but it is about, again, whole child, whole staff, not just child, but we're going to dig into that a little bit about how we want to take that and what we're going to do with that. So social emotional support is not only for our students, but our entire staff. So when you think about the matrix that I showed you for Vicksburg, the middle one, high-performing collaborative teams. Well, we have some new staff members. Sunset Lake, we have 10 new staff members this year, so it is definitely important that we create new teams. I was recently with some principals, and one of them said, well, I see we all survived the frenzy of 22 hiring summer of 22, and we can all still be friends. And it was a lot of hiring across the state of Michigan, I can tell you. And so I appreciate the school board and Superintendent O'Neill with the whole process this summer, because we were able to hire some people with experience. I'm thrilled with how everything laid out and worked out with our staff. In fact, you'll see we got our art teacher too. That was our final one. But we were able to hire some members with experience. And so we were working on building mentors because of all of the different new members here. We're making relationships, and we've met as mentor teams. And then our lighthouse teams is we have a building lighthouse, we have a student lighthouse, and we have a family lighthouse. So those are also our teams. And just for visuals for that, I'll show you a little. Here is our staff at the beginning of the year. We're working on, we had a wonderful speaker kick off our district, Tim Brown, and we were just working on some of our planning right off the get-go. So that's our overall staff. We have community circles, which is also a big part. I think Shayna's going to talk a little bit, but here's our staff meeting, looking a little different. We're talking in our community circle. This picture I have here for the idea of our family lighthouse, we were able to make our goal last year with our family lighthouse that we had a Leader in Me night last May out on the track, and so that was one of our things. Like, that was fun because we finally were able to get back to something that we had done in the past, and so that was a great night. It was fun around the track, and we had a great turnout of families, and the kids taught habits. So it was fantastic. And then finally, the picture here is our student lighthouse. We have Jess Moten and Alicia Zager leading our student lighthouse. We have first grade through fifth grade. They apply for it. They explain why they would be good at it. They take endorsements from the teachers and families. And so it was a hard decision, and some of the applications were just fantastic on why they would be a good member. And finally, there is a book in the middle there, Onward, Cultivating Emotional Resilience in Educators. This summer, I've spent some time in that book. Last year, as I said, it was a tough year. So I've been spending some time. That book is something that we pull out and do some things with our staff. And finally, the third part is data mindset, efficacy, and transparency. We are going to be digging into data, and efficacy means we're all together. It goes right along with our collaborative teams. And with that, we're gonna have to be vulnerable a little bit with our data. We're gonna share it with our transparency. And so we've organized our meetings to have our kindergarten, first, and second grade teachers meet together, and they share those. When I talk to you about those formative assessments, it can be an exit ticket, that type of thing. They're gonna come together and they're gonna look at their results together, and they're going to do some planning. Our interventionists and our special education teachers join, and we have that set in the library once a week, and then they pick another time. But basically, we're using our assessments to make our plans, which is what we always do, but I feel like this year it's just going to be one of those big rocks for us. And again, you'll hear me say that goal tracking. So when we're making those goals, we have goal tracking for everybody. And just visuals for that. Right over here you will see that is a data team right here in our library. They're going through some things. Laura Chang, one of our instructional coaches for the district now, is there. They're going through it together. And then over here, that's that tracking I'm talking about. This is like a second grade. They're talking about their stamina. I was super impressed that they've already gotten so many minutes they're talking about their independent reading stamina, and they're tracking it. And then this one, work in progress, this is their writing stamina in second grade, on how they're trying to up their minutes, independent writing. And then, again, as I mentioned, our district is really working as a professional learning community. And so this book will help us do quite a bit of our data work, and it's a great, we're doing actually a book study in the district with that. Okay, and I'm wrapping up with data. I told you last year it was tough. But I will say, I wanted to share this out because it does show the growth. These are our first graders. This isn't first grade of last year. These are our current first graders, so they were kindergartners last year. So that's why we don't have the kindergarten number. In the fall of 21, we had, and this is a proficiency. Sometimes I do growth. This year it's proficiency, meaning that they're at benchmark. In the fall of last year, our students came in at 47 proficient, and they ended at 94%. That would have been kindergarten of last year. So our second graders, our current second graders, this is their data. In the fall, 34%, they ended at 68%. Third graders, they started at 54, they ended at 76. This is reading. Fourth graders, we came in at 51, we ended at 67. And fifth grade, 49 to 69. So you can see it's the double digits of growth. We know that this trajectory for this fall is a little bit higher, so we're starting a little bit higher than we did last fall. In some places, quite a bit higher. There is a summer situation where sometimes the summer slide happens, but we want to see all of these in the 80s and up, but we are getting there. So knowing where we started at fall of last year, knowing how many absences, contact tracing, and name it, subs. I subbed it last year more than I've ever subbed. So knowing that, I felt like I wanted to share that and celebrate that because there was a lot of hard work. And then with math, we have math. We didn't have math for the last year's first graders the whole year. So this is also, I'm proud to share some of the growth here that we have and where we ended at the end of last year. And so our current teachers now are taking these students and taking a look at where they're at this fall of 22, and we're doing all those other things I talked to you about with the assessments and data planning. So I'm gonna have Miss Brooks come up and talk about her data real quick, and then we'll be almost done.
Awesome. Thank you. So for those of you who don't know me, my name's Shayna Brooks. I'm the school counselor at Sunset Lake. And I'm just going to share some of the work that we're doing to support students' social emotional needs. And so if you want to draw your attention to the board, this is some data that I collected during the first month of school to get an idea of students' sense of belonging. And so sense of belonging is something that I really want to focus on this year because we know that it's so important to students' growth. So if you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we have physiological needs at the bottom, safety needs, and then right above that is student sense of belonging. And so going back to our mission statement, that each student will reach their maximum potential, which is the top of the pyramid, they must have their sense of belonging needs met first. And so that's why this is such an important project for me. So what I did is I met with each individual students in the lower L. So BK through second grade, I met with them individually and did minute meetings where I asked them 3 questions. I said, do you enjoy school? Do you have friends at school? And do you have a safe adult at school to talk to? And then for the upper L students, we did a Google form survey, and this is the data that we came up with. So I do want to celebrate that the majority of our students do enjoy school. They do feel like they have friends at school, and they do feel like they have a safe adult to talk to. But the purpose of this survey is to really identify those kids who are answering no to these questions so that we can provide them with some interventions to help build their belonging at school. So now I'm just going to talk about a few of the interventions that we're going to put in place to target those kids who answered, no, I don't enjoy school, no, I don't have a safe adult to talk to, no, I don't feel like I have friends. And so at the tier 1 level, and so that's all students, each classroom is doing community circles where the teachers have a topic, a question that they ask the kids, and then they go around in a circle and they answer the question and talk about it together. And then Amy mentioned earlier, I go into the classrooms to do counselor lessons where we focus on social emotional skills. If you draw your attention to that picture right there, this is actually from a classroom lesson that I did last week with 5th graders. And we did an activity where the kids put a piece of paper on their back, they taped it, and every kid had a marker. And I gave them some time to just go around and write on other kids' backs and write positive words about their peers. And I love this picture because once they took the piece of paper off their back, their face just lit up seeing all of the great things that their peers thought of them. And I thought it was interesting because some of the kids were like, I really don't see these qualities in myself, but it was important for them to see that that's how their peers view them. And so that's a way that we really worked on building community. I also do small group counseling, and this is huge for building a sense of belonging. This is more at the tier 2 level, so some of those targeted students. And it really helps kids because we get in a group and we talk about a certain topic and they can relate to other kids who have gone through similar experiences that they have, and we kind of work on skills together in a safe environment. And then I also do lunch bunch groups, and this is really to target those kids who are saying, I don't really have friends here at school. And so these might be the kids who have a difficult time building relationships. Maybe they're a little bit more shy. And so I give them the opportunity to come into my office once a week to have lunch, and we do conversation starters, and we play some relationship building games, and it really helps them kind of build a connection with their peers that they may not have been able to build. And then looking more at the targeted group, so the tier 3 services, we are starting a program called Adult Advocates or Adult Mentors. And so these are the kids who are saying, I don't have a safe adult to talk to at school. So each kid who answered no to that survey question is going to be assigned an adult that they normally wouldn't interact with. So it might be a past teacher, it might be a para, it could even be a cafeteria staff member. And that adult is going to check in with that kid periodically, and the hope is that by the end of the school year, the kids will feel comfortable and safe talking to that adult. And then lastly, Bree Welling, our school psych, is getting our peer-to-peer program going. And that's where the kids who need some additional assistance, maybe it's in writing, or maybe it's an adult that gets them off the bus in the morning, instead of having the adults do that, we're actually going to assign them another student to do that with them to help kind of build some of those relationships. So with all that being said, our goal is that when we look back at this data, when we take this survey at the end of the school year, we're going to see that more kids have a sense of belonging at school and kids are just having a better experience at school. Thank you.
Thank you, Shana. Okay, we're really just gonna wrap it up with our big rocks, as we say around here at Sunset Lake. The collaborative teacher teams, I wanna make sure I do also thank the board and Superintendent O'Neill for our new position, the student support coordinator, Amanda Lewis. It's just been a wonderful addition to our staff. We do have a lot of students here, and so it was really nice to be able to have that additional support to help give to our students for so many different things, and being a little more proactive than reactive. And so I appreciate that position. Thank you so much. The social emotional supports, as Shana shared, is one of our big rocks. I talked to you about that responsive instruction, that formative assessment. We're going to respond. We're going to be taking data and checking for understanding, and what are we doing with that data, and how are we responding is a big focus for us. This independent reading with support is also been something that we've been working on for the last couple of years, but that continues through. That independent reading level and getting them to practice reading is one of the top ways to improve reading. Our family supports and volunteers, that's nice, because that's something that we haven't been able to have as a big rock in the last couple of years. So having families back in the building volunteering, tapping into the people that want to help has been a great thing, and we're doing those background checks already. It's starting to, our list of families coming in is growing by the day. And then finally, that continuing our student voice and goal making and tracking and teaching that. And so this Friday, with our half day, quite a bit of our work is going to be worked on and started and continued. And that ends my 22 board presentation. Are there any questions from the board? I feel like I talked fast, so I apologize.
So your first 8 days, is that new to this year, or is you do something like that?
We dabbled in it a little, like few teachers did it, because it's something that has been there, but with knowing that we moved back as a district, our assessment window a little bit by a week, and knowing that we had a little bit more leeway to really delve into more of the community building, it was a bigger priority this year. Yeah.
Are other elementary schools doing it as well?
I think I will tell you, like, I don't want to speak for all the buildings here, but overall, when I talk to principals across the state even, I think we all came back knowing that we needed to spend more time doing that, and giving our students that more community feel and doing that, and starting maybe a little slower with the pace than we have. So I think it's probably safe to say that that's kind of something that educational leaders, I continue to hear them say that this fall we needed to do a lot of community building and spend a lot of time. And our kickoff for the district was a great community building for us as a staff. And so I feel like I'm sure we're not the only ones. I guess. Any other questions?
You know, and looking at that, you like to think every kid feels comfortable at school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good to identify that,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because some of them don't.
Right.
And delve into why, because I can't see a student being in a school, and if they're not comfortable there and they don't feel comfortable getting involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is having an adult that you can trust or confide in, I think, is huge.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I like to always say that everybody works in a building as an educator. And I really do believe that. And whether it's food service, a custodian, or whatever, I know, you know, George Canavan Field is named after the custodian from the old Elf. A lot of people don't know that, and it was because those students that went there in the 20s, 30s, and early 40s were really bonded to him because he involved himself in the kids. And I had a lot of people that have now left say, you know, talk to us about getting our work done and everything else, which
Right.
wasn't his job at all.
Right.
And so, but that became somebody that they can trust, and I think it doesn't have to be a teacher,
Oh,
just
for
somebody
sure.
in the
We have a-
building
Mhm,
that
mhm.
kid
Absolutely.
relates to, so I think that's huge. I also, am looking at those numbers, think those numbers look pretty good with results. Thank God we went back to school that year when we did, so we didn't have a 2-year loss.
Right, right.
And I think everybody in the building's to be commended with regard to that too.
It was, you know, a village effort, right? It takes a village. And so I agree, you know, and so we hear about that out and everywhere about the gaps that have happened in education the last few years, and I'm real proud of the work that went into last year and getting ourselves in that spot where we can, you know.
And it was a tough thing for all of you in the building, and I think we just want you to know that the community and all of us really do appreciate the tough work everybody went through in that year. 'Cause it was a struggle for everybody.
Right, absolutely. You know, it's just, I love being the Sunset Lake principal, and it was, you know, it was just a matter of, it was hard when you didn't feel you could do everything you could, you know, when you're being pulled into a classroom, or, you know, it was just challenging, and we are not alone. I know that across the state, you know, it was a hard year for educators last year, so it feels good. Renewal, compassion, and joy. Feels good.
I think you ought to all be proud of those numbers.
Anything else? Thank you.
Thanks, Amy. Gail, are you gonna be on the board?
No.
Oh, okay. Now our return to in-person learning plan.
I
Gail?
know, riveting stuff. All right, so in your packet on pages 21 and 22, you have our updated version of our return to in-person instruction and continuity of services plan. So we are required to do an update, a review and revision as a recipient of the ESSER funds. So there are not a lot of big changes since a year ago. The biggest changes really come in the first section there around the health and safety protocols. So this year we started our school year with no mask mandate. So we updated that in our plan. The quarantine guidelines based on the CDC guidelines were updated in our plan based on that. So that's the major changes in that first section of the plan. And then the actual academic and social emotional learning, again, because we were in person, there are not many changes for this school year in that section of the plan. Really, the only additions or changes are near the end, where for this school year, as Amy mentioned, we added a student sport coordinator here at Sunset Lake and a student services coordinator, 0.5 FTE, and SEL coordinator, 0.5 at the high school. That's one position split between our high school, our two high schools. We are also going to continue our SEL professional learning during our scheduled PD days in December and March. And those are the only changes.
Any questions for Gail?
Told you it was riveting.
Thanks, Gail. It was riveting.
Yeah. No dancing.
It looks like we have one member of the audience that wishes to address the board, John Steers.
Last time,
John, gotta go to the microphone, please.
Oh, okay. They don't have a microphone, but I need to go to the microphone.
It's right here. We have microphones.
I'll go to the microphone. You know, can I start now? You know, with the millions of dollars that we have, it would seem that each of you could probably have a microphone so we could hear each other in the back. Last time I was here, the board president said that kids just can't get COVID. They just can't. You know, and since then, we've had a child COVID vaccine. We've had a lot of other things happen. And I would just encourage everybody here that's listening to this broadcast that if we don't get to the point where we can address this board after they make decisions, not before they make decisions, if you don't get a voice after they make decisions, and you don't get a remote access to these meetings, where, just like Vicksburg Village does, and a lot of other places around here, where you can come in, you can record your comments, you can hear people's comments in the community, and you can answer them in real time if you choose to. You have nothing. So I encourage whoever is going to vote and listening to this, is certainly vote for whoever isn't on this board right now, or who isn't connected with somebody on this board, because we'll never get those things. We'll never meet in the Performing Arts Center where we don't have this, where we have social distancing, where the next time the pandemic comes, we don't have to go, I don't have to go to the back because I'm elbowing with it. What are we doing crammed into this room? Is there any reason that we can't be in our Performing Arts Center every single time where we can separate out? I want to read from you the survey that nobody in this community got except the staff, the students, and the parents of this community. By the way, I can't FOIA anything that happens in the school district. It's against it. They will not allow me to find out what happens in the school district. They will not tell me what happens with the school, with any lesson that happens here. The parents and guardians were asked, which of the following best describes the races and ethnicity of your immediate family members? Gosh, I'm not sure if that's really relevant to a survey. Do your children qualify for free or reduced cost lunches? Doesn't really matter on a 5-year plan, is it? The staff was asked basically nothing. Nothing that the students and the parents were asked. We go to the kids, and you wonder why we probably had a threat. The kids were asked, well, what race are you? What are the race members of every single person in your family? Are you eligible to receive free lunches? What does that make a difference to a kid? How do you identify? Please select one. Are you male? Are you female? Are you non-binary? This is a middle school kid. Are you non-binary? Are you transgender? Do you identify on your own terms, or you prefer not to answer? What in heaven's sake do those questions have to do with a child telling these individuals how to make the school system better? This is the thing that is going to happen if we don't change this board. If you don't think you're going to not get more of, hey, are you non-binary? Are you transgender? Do you want to identify your own? That's what's coming.
John, you've got 1 minute.
Thank you. These kids do not need this. They're here to get an education. They're not here to get questions on what gender they are, what binary, if they're binary or anything. They don't need that. They can come here and get it. They don't need to be, be rude to other people that are whatever they chose to be. But when you throw this crap in their faces and you ask them that this is the kind of things that they have to do to say what kind of school system this is going to be to make it better, that you have to say, what are your parents? What race are they? Are they binary? What are they?
John, your time is up.
If you don't think that that's what's coming, mark my words, it is.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, we'll go on to board action required. First is the approval of following board meeting minutes. Regular board meeting dated September 12th, 2022, and the board work session September 28th, 2022.
So moved.
Moved by Tina,
Support.
supported by Carol. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B, approval of general fund invoices totaling $456,738.18.
So move.
Moved by Carol,
Supported.
supported by Dan. Discussion? Stephanie?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. Item C, approval of purchase card disbursements for August 2022 totaling $116,696.97.
Support.
Moved by Carol, supported by Tina.
right.
Discussion? Stephanie?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries. Item D, approval to award construction contracts based on the bids received on September 29, 2022, with a combined cost of $5,553,597 to be funded using proceeds from the 2020 and 2022 bond issues.
So moved.
Moved by Tina,
Supported?
supported by Dan. Discussion. Stephanie?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Jennifer?
Yes.
Tina?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
And yes, motion carries.
I was gonna make one quick comment on that, Skip.
We'll let you do that.
I think as everybody is aware, lead times are extremely long for all of these things, and that's one of the reasons why we're trying to complete the bid processes early.
I was glad it was that early.
Yeah, the window bids that are due tomorrow, as we've done in the past, if it's a clear cut, low bid takes it, what I would probably do is notify the board, show the bid tabulation, and if there's nothing, if it's clear cut decision, then I would want to issue a notice to proceed with the formal approval to follow at the November meeting. Otherwise, we could look at scheduling a special meeting or whatever, but I wouldn't want to wait 4 weeks
No.
to do that, so.
What's the board's preference with regard to that? We can do a special meeting, or we can allow Steve to proceed if it's a standard low bid situation.
I agree.
I trust Steve.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I will, it might take a couple of days. We usually conduct post-bid interviews and do some vetting and that kind of thing. So as soon as I have that information, I'll share that out.
We trust you. If something comes up and we
Okay.
need to have a special meeting, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, item E, approval of resignation of Kelsey, is it Rothermel? Effective September 23rd, 2022.
So move.
Moved by Carol?
Support.
Supported by Tina. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item F, approval of following teacher contracts upon results of state and federal records and unprofessional checks. Megan Oswald, art teacher at Sunset Lake, and Bailey Hawkins, third grade teacher at Indian Lake.
So moved.
Moved by Tina.
Support.
Supported by Jennifer. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item G, approval of field trip for the Future Farmers of America National Convention in Indianapolis, Indiana. All expenses to be paid by the students or scholarships.
So move.
Moved by Carol,
Support.
supported by Jennifer. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and on that, we'll stand adjourned, and thank you for making us comfortable here at Sunset.
Yes. Thank you for
Thank you.
the wonderful